My beloved child, if, amid countless voices pulling your mind in every direction, your eyes have paused at this moment, do not be too quick to believe that it is merely a coincidence. Some things in this world are shaped by chance, but there are also encounters preserved by love, and this very moment is one of them. I do not need many hours from you, nor do I ask you to prove anything before me. I ask only for 1 minute, just 1 minute, for your heart to grow still, for the noise of the world to fade into the distance, and for you to hear the voice I have patiently placed beside you for so long. Do you know, I am more proud of you than you have ever imagined. Perhaps you are still looking at yourself through the eyes of disappointment. You remember your falls more than the times you rose again. You count your mistakes more than the good you have done. You believe that you are not strong enough, wise enough, or worthy enough to be loved. But I have never looked at you that way. When I look at you, I do not see only who you are today. I also see the child who once knew how to laugh so freely. I see the tears you hid behind your smile so that others would not worry. I see the times you quietly chose what was right, even when no one noticed. I see the battles within your soul that no one but me has ever witnessed. My words spoken through Isaiah still remain true today. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. I did not wait until you were perfect to call you my child. I did not wait until you had overcome every trial before opening my arms to receive you. I call you even in your weakest days. I am beside you even when you believe that you are walking alone. Perhaps in recent days, you have wondered why everything has become so difficult. You prayed, yet the heavens seemed silent. You waited, yet the door remained closed. You tried, yet the results had not come. And then you began to doubt yourself. At times, you may even have wondered whether I still hear your pleas. My beloved child, I have never missed a single whisper from you, even the sighs you cannot turn into words. I understand completely. There are prayers I answer immediately. There are prayers I hold back not because I am refusing you, but because I am preparing something greater than what you are asking for. Remember the story of Joseph. When he was young, he received dreams filled with hope. Yet afterward, he was sold into slavery by his own brothers. He was falsely accused, imprisoned, and forgotten in a dark cell. If anyone had looked only at each stage of his life, they might have believed that God had abandoned him. But the truth was entirely the opposite. Every closed door was leading him toward the very place God had prepared for him beforehand. When the time came, the man who had once been a prisoner became the one who saved an entire people from famine. What I did for Joseph long ago, I can still do in your life today. What you call delay is sometimes preparation. What you call loss is often protection that you do not yet have the perspective to understand. I know there are mornings when you wake up without even a trace of motivation. I know there are nights when you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to find one small ray of hope among your heavy thoughts. Yet, even in those moments, I am still sitting beside you. I do not leave when you cry. I do not turn away when you are weak. My love does not work like the love of this world. The world loves you when you succeed. I love you even when you fail. The world stays when you are strong. I stay to become your strength when you have nothing left to hold on to. The Psalms say, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Read that verse slowly through the story of your own life. It does not say if you walk through the valley. It says when you walk through it. Life will always have valleys, but I have never promised that you would have to walk through them alone. I have promised that I would be with you in every step you take. You often think that you must do something extraordinary to please me. But do you know what makes me smile the most? It is when you still choose love after you have been hurt. when you still choose forgiveness even while your heart aches, when you continue to pray even when you cannot yet see the answer, when you rise again after every fall. These are the victories the world does not see, but all of heaven witnesses. Do not allow negative voices to convince you that you are worthless. Do not let your past define your future. Do not let one small failure make you forget all the good things I have planted within you. You were not created to live in fear. You were not born to remain chained by shame and insecurity. I have placed within you a light that darkness cannot extinguish. As long as you continue to lift your eyes toward me, there are doors I have closed because behind them were things that would have wounded you. There are people I allowed to leave your life because they were meant to walk with you only for a certain season. There are dreams I have not fulfilled immediately because, if given too early, they would become burdens instead of blessings. You cannot see the whole picture, but I can. You see only today, while I have already seen tomorrow. So before you continue your work, before you return to the worries waiting for you, I ask you to remember this one thing: never doubt your own worth. Never believe that I am disappointed in you. If you are still breathing today, if you are still able to read these words, then your story is not over. I am still writing the most beautiful chapters of your life. The only thing I ask of you is to take one more step in faith. Just one step, then another. I will be there, holding your hand as I have done from the very beginning. And if there is only one thing you carry with you after leaving these words, let it be this truth: I am proud of you. Not because you have done everything perfectly, not because you have never failed, but because, after all you have endured, your heart still knows how to return to me. That alone is enough to make heaven rejoice. That alone is enough to make me smile. And that alone is enough for you to believe that brighter days are ahead. Because I will never leave you, nor will I ever forsake you. Therefore, instead of continually looking back at the things that have already closed, be still and try to sense what I am quietly doing in the present. Not every miracle appears through something grand enough to astonish the entire world. Many of my miracles begin with a very small spark of hope, a positive thought newly kindled in a heart that once felt completely exhausted, a door opening gently after so many days of being shut, or simply the fact that you still have enough strength to take one more step when you believed you could go no further. The world may call these things coincidence, but my child, nothing is too small for me to care about, and no tear falls without my seeing it. Every beat of your heart is precious to me, because I loved you before you ever learned to call my name. Perhaps you often wonder why I do not immediately erase every sorrow from your life. If I love you, why do I still allow storms to come? Why do I not prevent the hurtful words, the separations, the betrayals, or the disappointments you have had to carry, my beloved child? If a gardener kept only sunny days and never allowed rain to fall, that garden could never truly flourish. What nourishes the roots is not sunlight alone, but also the quiet rain that sinks deep into the soil. In the same way, there are seasons of tears whose meaning you may not yet understand. But one day, when you look back on the road you have traveled, you will realize that the very things which hurt you most taught you to love more deeply, to become more humble, and to place your trust in me more than anything else. My words in Romans still echo through every generation. All things work together for good to those who love God. Remember that this does not mean everything will be easy, nor does it mean that every event will be what you wanted. What I promise you is that no matter how complicated your circumstances may become, I can still weave something beautiful from the very threads that seem most tangled. When you see only knots, I already see the finished tapestry. There is a story that few people pause long enough to reflect upon. After Elijah defeated the prophets of Baal on the mountain, he did not immediately enter the glorious days many people might imagine. Instead, he became afraid, ran into the wilderness, and wished that he could die. A man who had witnessed fire fall from heaven reached a point of exhaustion so deep that he no longer wanted to continue living. But I did not rebuke him. I did not ask why his faith had become weak. First, I let him sleep. I sent an angel to bring him bread and water. I cared for his weariness before speaking of his mission. Do you see? There are times when what you need most is not a long lesson, but rest within my love. I never forget that you, too, are only human, with very real limitations. So if today you feel that you have become too tired, do not rush to condemn yourself. Do not think that I am disappointed because you are weak. Come near to me like a child returning home after a long day. You do not need to wear a strong face before me. You do not need to hide the cracks in your soul. I have known them all for a long time. What I am waiting for is not a perfect person, but an honest heart willing to open the door and let me enter. You often think that faith grows only through powerful prayers or deeply emotional moments. But I tell you that faith also grows through very ordinary things. It grows when you choose to smile at someone who is sad, when you are patient with someone who has hurt you, when you continue to live kindly even though the world does not return kindness to you, and when you still give thanks to me on a morning when nothing special has happened. These quiet things are building a soul that grows stronger day by day. Heaven does not rejoice only over brilliant victories. Heaven also rejoices over every small but loving choice you make. Do not let comparison steal your heart. I have never created two people exactly alike. Every soul carries a beauty that no one else can replace. Some are called to shine in crowded public places. Others are called to become a small lamp in a peaceful home. Both are equally precious in my eyes. The world often measures worth by how visible someone is, but I measure it by the love you place into what you are doing. A cup of water given with a sincere heart can hold greater meaning than grand achievements that lack love. There are days when you feel as though you make no difference in this world. You believe that your life is too ordinary, too quiet, but you do not know that a single word of encouragement from you may preserve hope for someone standing at the edge of despair. One sincere embrace may heal a heart that has carried too much pain. One quiet prayer from you may open the way for things your eyes have never seen. Love does not always create a loud sound. Most of the time, love grows in silence, like a seed resting beneath the soil, long before it becomes a great tree that gives shade to many. My beloved child, I also want you to learn how to forgive yourself. There are mistakes I forgave long ago, yet you still carry them like a burden. You keep returning to the place where I have already closed the door to the past, searching for things I no longer remember. When I say that I forgive, I do not merely remove punishment. I also open the way for you to begin again. Do not live as though you are still chained by the very things from which I have set you free. Walk in the freedom that love brings. My words in Lamentations remind you, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Let those words become your breath whenever dawn arrives. Do not begin a new day with yesterday's failures. Begin it with gratitude that you still have another opportunity to love more deeply, forgive more freely, and live more beautifully. There will come a time when you realize that the most precious gift I have given you is not a life without trials, but my presence within every trial you face. When you rejoice, I rejoice with you. When you weep, I am beside you. When you fall, I reach out my hand to lift you up. When you lose your way, I patiently wait for you to return. And when you believe that you have been left entirely alone, that is often when I am closer to you than ever before. Do not be quick to fear the future. You do not walk into tomorrow alone. I am already there ahead of you. I have seen the doors that will open, the people you will meet, the good things that will come, and even the trials that will help you grow. What you need to do is not to know every answer in advance, but to keep holding my hand each day. A child does not need to know how long the road is if he knows that his father's hand is always near. So, in this very moment, as you read each word slowly, let every worry settle like the surface of a lake after the wind is past. Let your heart rest in the peace that the world can neither give nor take away. I do not promise that tomorrow will hold no more trials, but I promise that my love will always go before you, surround you from behind, and remain right beside you. And in the end, when you look back upon your own journey, you will smile as you realize that there was never a single moment when I took my eyes off you. From the first day you cried when entering this world until the day you fully understand my love. Every step you take has been kept in kindness, and everything I do has only one purpose, that you may know you are always loved with a love that never fades, never runs dry, and never abandons you. Therefore, do not be too quick to close your heart simply because there are days when the sky is covered with gray clouds. It is often during the days when the light seems to have disappeared that I do my quietest work. A seed does not grow beneath human eyes. It grows in the darkness of the soil. A child does not mature amid the cheers of a crowd. He grows day by day in the loving embrace of his family. Your faith is the same. It is not formed in glorious moments that everyone can see. It is shaped in the times when you still choose to believe, even when there seems to be nothing left to hold on to except my promise. Perhaps you still think that if one day I appeared before your eyes in radiant light, every fear would vanish immediately. But my beloved child, what I have always desired is not to astonish you, but to bring you peace. I do not always speak through thunder and lightning. Many times, I come in the gentlest whisper of the wind, just as the prophet Elijah recognized that the presence of God was not in the violent wind, nor in the earthquake, nor in the fire, but in a soft and gentle whisper. Learn to listen for those small things as well: an unexpected smile from a stranger, an encouraging word that arrives at exactly the right time, a door opening when you thought every path had been closed. Do not regard them as coincidence. Many of my miracles are wrapped in ordinary garments so that only hearts that know how to love can recognize them. I know that you have blamed yourself many times. There are memories you wish you could forget, yet they return on quiet nights. You remember every word you spoke wrongly, every opportunity you lost, every person you hurt. You think that the past will forever remain a shadow following your life. But look at the river. It never turns back to search for the water that has already passed through it. It simply continues toward the great sea. I am inviting you to walk in the same way. Regret has meaning only when it leads you toward renewal. If it only causes you to keep your head bowed, then it is no longer the voice of wisdom. I did not create you to live in the chains of yesterday. I created you so that every morning you may begin again with a clean and renewed heart. Remember the prodigal son in the parable of Jesus. When he returned, he had prepared a long apology, believing that he was no longer worthy to be called a son. But the father did not stand there counting his failures. He ran to embrace his child before the young man had even finished speaking. Do you understand what that means? True love always runs faster than condemnation. That is how I continue to see you. My heart is not held back by a record of your mistakes. What I long for is the moment you turn your face toward me, even if it is only with the smallest cry. Do not be afraid to begin again. There are seasons when trees lose all their leaves in preparation for a greener season ahead. There are fields that must be plowed before seeds can take root. There are hearts that must pass through pain before they become gentle enough to understand the pain of others. If today you are in a season when everything seems to be turned upside down, do not look only at what has been lost. Ask yourself, what are you teaching me through this season? For I never waste your tears. Every tear waters something good that you have not yet seen. There are prayers you have repeated for many years. You have asked me why the answer has still not come. But my beloved child, if I gave you everything on the very first day, you asked, would you still learn patience, compassion, and faith? A potter does not shape clay only with his hands, he also uses time. If a vessel is taken out of the furnace too early, it will crack at the first trial it faces. I am preparing you in the same way, not so that you may become famous in the eyes of the world, but so that you may be strong enough to carry the things I entrust to you. You often compare your life with the lives of others. You see their success, but you do not see the nights when they wept. You see their smiles, but you do not know what they had to sacrifice to keep those smiles. Do not walk on the path I prepared for someone else and think that it must fit your feet as well. Every soul I create carries its own melody. If everyone sang the same tune, how poor the harmony of the world would become. I do not want you to become a copy of anyone else. I want you to become yourself, the most beautiful version of you that I have held in my heart from the very beginning. There may come a time when you feel too small to bring about anything good. But look at the mustard seed. It is so small that many may drop it without even noticing. Yet when it grows, it becomes a place where the birds of the air come to make their nests. Do not despise the small things you do each day. A kind word can heal a soul that is close to despair. A sincere embrace can save a heart from loneliness. A quiet prayer can change what human strength cannot touch. Heaven does not measure value by the size of an action, but by the love placed within it. And please do not allow bitterness to take root in your heart. Forgiveness does not mean saying that what others did was right. Forgiveness means refusing to let the wound continue to control your life. When you hold tightly to resentment, the first person imprisoned is yourself. I want your hands to be light enough to receive new blessings. A hand that clings tightly to the past cannot open itself to receive the gift of the present. I know there have been times when you quietly did good and no one noticed. You helped others, yet received only silence in return. You lived uprightly, yet were still misunderstood. At times, you wondered whether kindness still had any meaning. Listen to me when I tell you this. Not a single good deed falls outside my sight. Every seed of love you sow is kept by me. Some seeds will sprout quickly. Some will take many years before they bloom, but they will never be lost. If one day you feel alone in the middle of a crowd, remember that I am still walking beside you. When others see only your outward appearance, I see every beat of your heart. When the world judges you by your achievements, I see you through love. When others remember only the times you failed, I still see the potential I placed within you from the beginning. No one understands you more deeply than I do, for I am the one who has woven every day of your life together with providence and kindness. Then one morning, you will awaken and suddenly realize that what once hurt you most has become only a gentle memory. You will smile when you remember the road you have traveled and understand that the days that once seemed darkest were the very days that taught you to treasure the light. You will realize that I was never late. I simply came at the most beautiful time, when your heart had become wide enough to receive what I wished to give you. Therefore, from this moment on, do not live as someone waiting for a miracle from far away. Live as someone who already carries the miracle of love within your own soul. Whenever you choose hope instead of despair, you allow my light to shine through your life. Whenever you choose gentleness instead of anger, you reflect a part of my nature. Whenever you choose to rise again after falling, you declare to the darkness that light cannot be overcome. And if, after all the words I have spoken, you remember only one thing, Then hold this deeply within your heart. You have never had to strive in order to be loved by me. That love existed before your first cry. It will not grow greater when you succeed, nor become smaller when you fail. That love remains there, quiet as the dawn each morning, steadfast as the stars that continue to shine after the night, and gentle as the hands of a father always opened wide to welcome his child home. Keep walking, my beloved child. Do not fear tomorrow. I have gone before you. I am walking with you. And when you look back on a day far in the future, you will understand that there was never a moment in your life when you had to walk without me by your side. Therefore, do not turn away from today simply because it has not yet become what you hoped it would be. There are seeds I place in the soil that must spend months completely hidden in darkness before they break through and become great trees. No one standing above the ground can see the life quietly moving beneath the surface. But what is unseen has never meant that it does not exist. Your faith is the same. There are days when you do not feel me near. There are moments when your prayers seem to echo back only silence. Yet, in that silence, I am still working in ways your eyes cannot yet recognize. I have never fallen asleep over your life. I have never taken my eyes off your smallest steps. What you call silence is sometimes the necessary space for your heart to hear what the noise of the world is always trying to cover. My beloved child, the world will often try to convince you that your worth is measured by what you possess, by the number of people who praise you, or by the achievements others can see. But I never created you to chase after those shadows. I created you with a value that cannot be weighed or measured. Before you ever uttered your first cry, I knew your name. Before you knew how to love, I loved you first. Before you knew how to pray, I had already prepared answers for the things that would one day keep you awake at night. It is written in Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Let those words sink deeply into your soul. You are not an accident. You are not a random stroke upon the canvas of creation. You are an intention loved from the very beginning. I know that sometimes you look at others and wonder why they seem to have more than you do. Some appear to be endlessly fortunate. Some reach success very quickly. Some are loved, supported, and blessed in ways that make you quietly long for the same. Then your heart begins to grow heavy with comparison. But my child, every garden has its own season of blooming. If a rose tried to become an olive tree, it would lose the beauty I placed within it. If a river tried to become a mountain, it would no longer bring water to dry fields. I have never created two souls exactly alike, for each person carries within them a song that no one else can sing in their place. Perhaps you have never realized that the things which hurt you most are also the things that have made your heart more compassionate toward others. If you had never cried, how could you wipe away the tears of someone in despair? If you had never been lonely, how could you understand the worth of a sincere embrace? If you had never walked through long nights filled with worry, how could you become a lamp for someone who has lost their way? I do not love pain, but I can transform what once wounded you into a source of healing for many other hearts. That is something the world rarely understands. Remember David, when he was still an unknown shepherd boy. No one imagined that he would become a king, remembered through generations. Those quiet days in the fields were not meaningless. There, among the sound of the wind and the music of his harp, I taught David to trust, to be courageous, and to place his heart in me rather than in human strength. When he stood before Goliath, what enabled him to win was not a larger sword or thicker armor, but a faith that had been refined in days when no one was watching. You are the same. Your ordinary days are not ordinary in my eyes. Every good thing you quietly do, every time you choose kindness instead of bitterness, every time you forgive instead of holding on to resentment, is quietly shaping you into the person I desire you to become. Do not fear the days when you move very slowly. What is frightening is not that you walk slowly, but that you lose hope and stop. A person who takes small steps will still reach the destination if they do not turn back. I do not force you to run faster than everyone else. I simply invite you to remain faithful with every step you take today. Tomorrow will carry its own concerns. You only need to live fully in the light I have given you for today. There is one thing I hope you will never forget. Forgiveness is not because others are always right. Forgiveness is because your heart deserves peace. Resentment is like a burning coal that you hold tightly in your hand, hoping to throw it at someone else. The first one to be burned is always you. I do not want you to carry old wounds until they obscure the beauty of the present. Place them in my hands. I know how to heal what you cannot heal by yourself. Someone may have left you without a single explanation. A promise may have vanished like the morning mist. There may be dreams that once kept you awake through many nights, only to quietly fall apart. I know all of it. Not a single fragment of your memory lies beyond my sight. But do not build your home upon what has been lost. I am preparing for you things that you cannot yet imagine today. If one door closes, do not stand forever before that door. Let me lead you to another. Sometimes what I have prepared for you is far greater than what you once asked for. You often think that you must become strong before you are worthy to come near me. But look at a child when he falls. He does not try to prove that he is strong enough to stand on his own. He runs into the arms of his parents. Faith is just that simple. I do not wait for you to become perfect before I embrace you. I embrace you so that you may have the strength to keep growing. Every time you return to me with a sincere heart, heaven does not count your failures. Heaven rejoices because you have found the road that leads home again. The words in Matthew still echo through the generations. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Listen carefully to this. I did not say, come when you are no longer suffering. I did not say, come when you have solved all your problems. I invite you to come while you are still at your most weary, for it is precisely then that you can feel the strength of a love greater than every fear. And then one day, when you look back, you will realize that the turns in the road that once made you cry were the very paths that led you to peace. You will see that the things that once kept you awake at night taught you how to pray. The people who hurt you taught you the value of kindness. The doors that closed protected you from places that did not belong to you. Then you will smile and quietly say, all along that journey, you never left me. Until that day comes, continue to live with a gentle heart. Do not let the world make you so hardened that you forget how to love. Do not stop believing in goodness because you were deceived. Do not stop hoping because you were once disappointed. Light does not disappear simply because clouds pass across the sky. The sun is still there. My love is the same. You may not feel it clearly today, but it is still covering you every moment, like the breath you receive without even thinking about it each day. If your heart still holds even a small corner of anxiety, place it in my hands. If you still carry an unfulfilled dream, place it in my hands. If you still carry a memory that makes your eyes sting with tears, place that in my hands as well. I do not promise that every road will always be smooth, but I promise that I will not let you walk alone. I will be your strength when you are weak, your light when you lose your way, and your peace when your soul is caught in a storm. And though the world changes every day, though countless seasons of leaves fall and bloom again, my promise to you never changes. You are always loved, always kept, and you will always have a home to return to in my embrace. Therefore, lift your head, take a deep breath, and keep walking. I am with you not only today, not only tomorrow, but in every moment of the journey I have lovingly prepared for you from the very beginning. So, from this moment on, do not allow your heart to keep carrying the burden of things I never placed upon your shoulders. There are chains made not of iron, but of the judgments you speak against yourself. There are prisons with no walls at all, yet you remain inside them for years because you believe that you are no longer worthy to begin again. I want you to know that grace is never built upon your perfection. If my love were only for those who had never made a mistake, then no one on this earth could ever come near me. It is because I know you are fragile that I call you my child. It is because I know there will be times when you fall that I always hold out my hands before you fall. I do not wait for you to stand on your own before I come to help you. I was already there, in the very place where you thought only loneliness remained. Remember the prodigal son in the parable that generations have continued to tell one another. When he took his inheritance and left home, he believed that freedom meant living far away from his father. But after wasting everything, after his pride vanished, along with the hunger that consumed him, the only thing left was shame. He did not dare to think he could still be called a son. He only hoped that he might be allowed to become a servant. Yet before he could finish the apology he had prepared, his father ran to embrace him. The father did not ask how many times his son had failed. The father did not demand that his son prove he had changed. The father saw only the child who had returned home. My beloved child, I am still that father. The distance between you and me has never been measured by the number of mistakes you have made, but by whether you are willing to turn back and seek me. The moment you turn around, you will find that I have already been drawing near to you for a very long time. There are days when your faith feels as small as a candle in a fierce wind. You fear that one more hardship will be enough to extinguish its light, but you do not yet know that I have never asked you to become the sun. I only ask you to protect that small flame, for when you no longer have the strength to keep walking, I will become your strength. When you no longer have enough light to see the road ahead, I will become a lamp beneath your feet. And when you think you have nothing left to offer, as long as you still hold on to one sincere prayer, I can accomplish things far beyond your imagination. Do not worry too much, because you cannot yet see what I am doing. A seed beneath the soil may once have thought that everything was over when darkness covered it on every side. It did not know that the very darkness surrounding it was protecting a process of growth that ordinary eyes could not see. Roots were quietly spreading. Life was silently awakening. If the seed could speak, perhaps it too would ask why it had to be buried. Yet not long afterward, the very place once called a grave would become the beginning of a garden. You are the same. Perhaps today you are living through a season whose meaning you cannot understand. Perhaps everything around you has become so quiet that you think I too have fallen silent. But my silence never means my absence. A gardener does not dig up a seed every day simply to check whether it has grown. He waits patiently, because he knows life is unfolding where the eyes cannot see. I am patiently working with your life in the same way. Stop comparing your journey with the journeys of others. Some people bloom in spring. Others do not blossom until summer has passed. Some trees take many years to grow tall, but once their roots have taken hold, even storms cannot bring them down. You often see the success of others without seeing the long nights in which they fought quietly. You see their smiles without seeing the tears that watered their faith. Do not allow comparison to steal the joy I have prepared especially for you. I do not copy another person's life and place it upon yours. I created you with a story that has never been repeated. Your voice, your heart, and everything you have endured are all irreplaceable strokes in the picture I am completing. Perhaps you still wonder, if I love you so deeply, why do I not remove all suffering from your life, my beloved child? Even gold must pass through fire before its hidden brilliance can be revealed. Not because the goldsmith hates the gold, but because he knows there are still things within it that need to be refined. I do not send trials to destroy you. I allow certain trials to remain so that the strength within you, strength even you did not know you possessed, may be revealed. If you had never walked through darkness, you would find it difficult to understand how precious light truly is. If you had never been forgiven, you would struggle to learn how to forgive others. And if I had never lifted you up after your falls, you would never fully understand the beauty of mercy. What brings me the greatest joy is not seeing you smile all the time. What brings me joy is when, even through tears, you still believe that I am here. Faith is not saying that life will always be easy. Faith is daring to keep walking, even when you do not know what tomorrow will bring. In that moment, you are placing your small hand into my infinite hand, and I have never let go of a hand that reaches for me with sincerity. There is something you often forget. You continually ask me to change your circumstances, yet you rarely notice that I am quietly changing you. In the past, a single insult could hurt you for days. Now, you know how to smile and forgive. In the past, one failure could make you want to give up. Now, you know how to rise one more time. In the past, you only knew how to pray when difficulties came. Now, you are beginning to give thanks even on peaceful days. Do you see? Sometimes the greatest miracle is not that circumstances change, but that your heart is renewed day by day. Do not measure the worth of your day only by what you achieve. There are days that seem very ordinary, yet they carry seeds that will bloom many years later. A kind word you speak to someone today may save them from despair. A hug you give to someone who is hurting may become the sign that helps them believe, I still love them. A quiet prayer you whisper may touch a soul far away that you will never even know. In my kingdom, no act of love is insignificant. Every good deed is remembered. Every tear shed because of love has value. Therefore, when you wake each morning, do not rush to assume that today is simply a repetition of yesterday. I have placed within this new day graces that the old day did not contain. I have prepared encounters you do not yet know about. I have protected you from countless dangers you will never even recognize. So many times you have said that you were lucky, yet you did not know it was my quiet protection. So many times you thought you had made it through on your own, yet it was I who gave you strength in the moments when you were weakest. Learn to see small things through grateful eyes. The breath you are taking is a gift. The sunrise you behold is a gift. A person who is still beside you today is also a gift. Do not let your heart chase only after great things and forget the miracles unfolding around you every second. Those who know how to give thanks will always find hope, because they recognize that even in the hardest days, I never stop giving life. If you are tired today, rest your head against me for a while. If you feel that you are not strong enough, let me become your strength. If you feel that no one understands you, remember that I understand even the things you have never spoken aloud. No sigh of yours is forgotten. No tear falls that I do not see. No long night lasts forever. After every night, I still cause the sun to rise. After every winter, I still bring life back to branches that once seemed dry and lifeless. And after every season in which you thought you had lost everything, I can still open a new chapter more beautiful than anything you ever dared to hope for. So before you leave this moment and return to the rhythm of everyday life, let my final words settle deeply within your heart. You are not a mistake. You are not a burden. You have not been forgotten. You do not walk alone. Every step you take remains within my loving gaze. Every day you live carries a meaning that perhaps you cannot yet fully see. And until you understand the whole picture, I only ask that you continue to trust. Do not fear the future, for I am already there before you. Do not allow the past to bind you, for I have opened for you the path of forgiveness. Do not allow the present to discourage you, for I am still at work. Even when everything appears to stand still, hold on to this peace like a flame in your heart. When you meet someone who is despairing, offer them the gentleness I have given to you. When you meet someone who is wounded, love them with the same mercy you have received. And when you look back upon your life someday, I hope the thing you remember most will not be your successes or failures, but this simple truth: in every season of life, from hopeful dawns to long nights filled with tears, I have always been there. I have always called you by the most tender name. I have always smiled upon you with unchanging love, and I have always whispered softly in the deepest place of your soul, my beloved child. I have always been proud of you. Keep walking. I am waiting for you ahead. Therefore, when you close your eyes after reading these words, I hope you will not only remember what I have said, but also remember the peace that is gently beginning to grow within your heart at this very moment. Peace is not when every storm has disappeared. Peace is when you realize that even in the midst of the storm, there is still a hand that has never let go of yours. The world often teaches you to be strong so that you will not need anyone's help. But I teach you that the greatest strength does not lie in carrying everything by yourself. It lies in knowing when to place those burdens into a love greater than your own. There are things you have held onto for so long that your shoulders have grown weary. Your heart has become dry, and your eyes have forgotten how to see the beauty still present around you. I never created you to live as someone who must fight alone. I created you to love, to hope, and to believe that even when you can no longer see the road ahead, light is still waiting for you at the end of the journey. My beloved child, perhaps many times you have stood before a mirror and seen only the things you have not yet accomplished. You compare your life with others and quietly conclude that you are moving too slowly. But do you know this? A seed has never considered itself a failure simply because it has not yet become a great old tree. It simply grows quietly day by day beneath the soil, where no one can see it. The greatest miracles of life always begin in the most hidden places. Roots are never praised the way leaves are, yet it is the roots that keep a tree standing firm through storms. In the same way, the days when you think nothing is changing, the prayers that seem to disappear into empty space, and the tears that no one knows about, all of them are nourishing the deepest part of your soul. Then one day, you will be amazed to realize that you have become an entirely different person. Not because a miracle happened overnight, but because day after day I was quietly working within your heart. I know you still carry memories that make your heart ache whenever they return. There are words that wounded you so deeply that their echoes still remain years later. There are moments when you placed your whole trust in someone, only to receive disappointment in return. There are people you loved with all your heart, yet in the end, they walked away without looking back. You once thought those things would remain wounds that could never be healed. But look at the forest after the rain. Trees that were struck by lightning still continue to grow, new shoots. Streams once blocked by rocks and earth still find new paths. Nature never stops telling you the story of renewal. If I placed that law within every leaf and every stream of water, could I possibly forget to place it within your own heart? Do not fear the days when you feel weak. It is within that weakness that you will learn compassion. Those who have never suffered find it difficult to understand another person's tears. Those who have never been lost find it difficult to know how to guide someone who has lost their way. Sometimes the most precious thing you can bring into this world is not a dazzling achievement, but the ability to sit beside a broken soul and say, I understand. That is a quiet kind of light. Yet it is enough to warm an entire life. So do not rush to hate the winters of your life. Winter makes trees appear dead, yet life is still quietly moving within them. Some periods of silence I give you are not meant to take joy away, but to prepare you for a season of blooming beyond anything you have ever imagined. If every day were spring, you would never understand the value of the first new bud. If the sky were always filled with sunshine, you would never know how beautiful a rainbow can be after the rain. You often ask me when your life will finally change. But I want to ask you something else. If tomorrow everything you desire became real, would your heart be ready to protect and care for those gifts? There are things I delay not because I am unwilling to give, but because I love you too much to place something in your hands before you are mature enough to receive it. A fragile vessel will break if too much water is poured into it. A young branch will snap if it bears too much fruit. Waiting is sometimes love, wearing the garment of patience. And while you are still waiting, do not forget to live. Do not live only for the day when all your dreams come true. Live fully in today. Look up at the sky one more time. Smile at someone who is more tired than you are. Forgive an old mistake. Give thanks for the meal before you. Cherish the people who are still beside you. You may be surprised to realize that happiness is not found only at the destination. It has always been walking beside you with every step, many times. You simply move too quickly to notice it. Perhaps what brings me the greatest joy is not when you possess everything, but when you still keep a gentle heart even when you do not have much. The world often finds it easy to be kind when there is abundance, but only truly rich souls know how to share, even in their own seasons of lack. Do not measure your worth by what you possess. You are measured by the love you give, by the kindness you preserve in a world that is sometimes too cold, and by the hope you continue to sow even before you see the harvest. Remember that every person you meet is carrying a story you do not know. The person who smiles may have just lived through a long night of tears. The one who appears strong may be exhausted inside. The one who acts cold may have been wounded too many times. Therefore, do not be quick to judge. One gentle word from you may become the last light someone is desperately trying to hold on to. One sincere embrace may save a soul from despair. Listening without judgment can sometimes be more precious than 1,000 pieces of advice. I also hope you will not forget to love yourself with humility. This does not mean placing yourself above others. It means recognizing that your life deserves care just as much as every other life does. Rest when you are tired. Cry when you need to cry. Laugh freely when your heart wants to laugh. Forgive yourself for the mistakes of the past. You cannot change yesterday, but you can always plant a new seed for tomorrow. Do not let the past become a chain that keeps you in a place where I never intended for you to remain. If there are times when you feel too small in this vast world, remember the sky full of stars. One star alone may seem very small, but when they all shine together, the night is no longer frightening. You are the same. Perhaps you think the good things you do are too small to change the world, but the world has never been transformed only by rare and grand actions. It is healed little by little through countless ordinary, quiet acts of kindness, carried out every day by people who never think of themselves as special. I always smile whenever I see you choose love instead of hatred, patience instead of anger, and hope instead of giving up. Those choices may not cause anyone to applaud, but they are quietly writing the person you are becoming. Do not underestimate small things. A candle gives only a humble light, but in a dark room, even one candle can change everything. One day, you will look back and realize that the turns in your path you once resented were the very places that led you to the most beautiful people, the most valuable lessons, and the most mature version of yourself. Then you will understand that no tear you shed was meaningless. No sincere prayer vanished into empty space. No season of perseverance was forgotten. Everything is weaving together a story greater than what you are able to see today. So before you continue your journey, carry a gentle certainty in your heart. Whether dawn is just breaking or night is falling, whether you are laughing or crying, whether you feel strong or fragile, remember that you are loved more deeply than you could ever measure. Keep walking with that peace. Let kindness become the footprint you leave upon this world. Let hope become the lamp you carry in your hand. And whenever you feel that you are about to lose your way, simply become still for a moment. Because in the deepest place of a heart that knows how to love and hope, you will always find the gentle voice calling you back toward the light. Therefore, instead of allowing your heart to keep returning to what has been lost, try to see what I am quietly placing before you. So many times, you ask me to open one door, while I am gently taking your hand and leading you toward another path that is better. People often grieve over what they do not have, yet forget to give thanks for what is still being preserved for them each day. Every breath you take, every ray of sunlight that enters through the window, every person still beside you, every opportunity you are given to begin again, all of these are gifts that many others have prayed for but have not yet received. If today you can still smile, still love, and still pray, then your life is still covered in grace. Your eyes may simply have grown too accustomed to miracles to recognize them anymore. I want you to remember the day Elijah fled to the mountain in despair. He had been a mighty prophet, standing before kings and witnessing great miracles. Yet there came a time when he wanted to give up everything. He waited for me to appear in the violent wind, the earthquake, and the blazing fire. But I did not come through the things that astonish the world. I came in a very gentle whisper. My beloved child, your life is the same. So often, you focus only on searching for great signs to know that I am at work. Yet I often touch your heart through the smallest and gentlest things, a word of encouragement at just the right moment, a stranger unexpectedly helping you, a sunrise more beautiful than usual, a passage of scripture appearing when you need it most, or a peace you cannot explain. That is how I still speak to you. I do not always shout in the middle of the storm. So many times, I simply call your name softly. There are days when you feel that you have done nothing meaningful. You look at the lives of others and blame yourself for being too slow, too small, too ordinary. But do you know this? In my kingdom, small things have never been meaningless. The tiny mustard seed becomes a great tree where the birds of the air can build their nests. 5 loaves and 2 fish fed thousands of people. A shepherd boy named David defeated the giant that an entire army feared. I have never measured your worth by the size of the success the world can see. I measure it by the love you place into every small task, by your faithfulness on the days when no one applauds, and by your perseverance when no one is standing beside you to cheer you on. My beloved child, do not think that I am present only in magnificent churches or during long hours of prayer. I walk with you on the road you take to work each morning. I sit beside you as you eat a simple meal. I am near you during hurried journeys, in the small room where only the ticking of the clock can be heard, and in the nights when you lie awake because the future is still unclear. You do not need to travel far to find me. The moment your heart opens, you will realize that I have already been there. At times, you wonder why I do not remove all suffering from this world. If I love you, why do tears still remain? If I am all-powerful, why do dark days still come, my beloved child? I did not create suffering in order to test you, yet I can turn even the deepest pain into soil where hope can take root. A seed cannot grow unless it is buried in the ground. Gold cannot be refined unless it passes through fire. And many of the most beautiful hearts you have ever encountered were formed through years that once seemed impossible to endure. What I promise you is not a life without storms. What I promise is that no storm will ever be strong enough to separate you from my love. In Romans, it is written, "All things work together for good for those who love God." Do not understand these words as a denial of pain. I know that pain is still pain, and loss is still loss. but I am the one who can weave even the darkest threads into a beautiful tapestry. Today, you may see only one dark patch. Tomorrow, when you look back, you will understand that this very darkness made the light I had prepared for you shine even more clearly. Therefore, do not rush to draw conclusions about your life while the chapter has not yet been finished. So many people believed that all hope ended on Friday, when the cross was raised upon the hill and everything seemed to be swallowed by darkness. But then the morning of the third day came. What appeared to be the end became the beginning of hope for all people. I have always been the God of new dawns. When you think everything has come to an end, I can still open an entirely different chapter that you have never imagined. If your heart still carries old wounds today, do not be ashamed of them. Your scars do not make you less valuable. They only tell the story that you fought and are still standing here. Even the risen one still bore the marks of the nails upon his body. Those marks were no longer symbols of defeat. They became evidence of a love that conquered death. I can also turn the things that once hurt you most deeply into the very places through which you bring comfort to others. Some people will believe in hope not because they have heard a sermon, but because they see that light still remains in your eyes after everything you have endured. There will be days when you feel that all your prayers are too clumsy. You do not know what to say. You only know how to sit quietly in silence. Do not worry. I understand that silence as well. Love does not always need to be expressed through beautiful words. A father understands his child's eyes before the child ever speaks. I also understand your heart before you even call my name. So never think that you must be perfect before you can come near me. Come just as you are, with all your joy, your sorrow, your confusion, your unanswered questions, and even the tears that have not yet dried. My beloved child, I also want you to learn to see others through the same eyes with which I see you. This world already has too much judgment. Too many people are seen only through their greatest mistakes. But I see beyond failure. I see the possibility of renewal that I have placed within every soul. If I have been patient with you so many times, then be patient with those who are struggling along their own journey. One kind word can save someone's day. One sincere embrace can heal a heart that seems shattered beyond repair. One act of forgiveness can open a future that neither of you ever thought possible. Do not be afraid to live gently in a world that is sometimes too cold. Do not think that kindness is a sign of weakness. Light is never needed to shout in order to drive away darkness. It only needs to be present, and the darkness retreats on its own. So it is with you. Every time you choose honesty instead of deception, love instead of hatred, and hope instead of despair, you allow my light to shine through your life. You may never know whose life you have changed, but I know no good deed you do is ever forgotten before me. And one day, when you look back on the path you have traveled, you will realize that there were many moments when you thought you were walking alone, yet your footprints were always beside mine. At times, I allowed you to walk on your own because I knew you were strong enough. At times, I held your hand so that you would not fall. And there were also times when you no longer had the strength to continue. And it was I who carried you through that part of the road. That is why you are still here today. Still able to hope. Still able to love. So before you close these words, I ask only one small thing of you. Take a deep breath. Let your heart become a little more peaceful. Release what you cannot control, and place it in my hands. Do not carry alone the burdens that I am always ready to carry with you. You were not created to live in fear. You were created to live in love, in peace, and in a hope that never runs dry. Keep walking. My child, you do not need to run very fast. You do not need to become someone else. Simply take one more step each day toward the light. One step toward truth, and one step toward love. I will walk with you in every one of those steps. When you smile, I rejoice with you. When you cry, I wipe away your tears. When you lose your way, I will call your name. When you are weak, I will be your strength. And when you think that no one understands you anymore, remember that there is always one who has never taken his eyes off you, who has never stopped loving you, and who has never ceased to be proud of you. This is my promise for today, tomorrow, and forever. My beloved child, while these words still remain in your heart, I hope you will not rush to close it simply because the world has not yet changed in the way you desire. Some seeds do not sprout on the very day they are planted. They lie quietly beneath the soil, unseen by anyone, silently drawing in every drop of water, every ray of warmth, and every breath of life. Your heart is the same. Some words of love that I send you today will not immediately drive away all sorrow, but they will remain like an underground stream, nourishing you on the days when you think you have run dry. Do not underestimate small things. One word of forgiveness can change an entire family. One sincere hand held can lift up a weary soul. One prayer whispered in the darkness can open a dawn you never imagined. What the world calls small is often where the power of love begins to grow. You often think that you must see the road clearly before you can continue walking. But do you remember travelers walking through the night? They do not need to see the entire journey. They only need enough light for the next step. Faith is the same. I do not always give you a map of your entire life, but I always give you enough light for today. If I allowed you to see everything that will happen, perhaps you yourself would become afraid. Therefore, I lead you one step at a time, like a father holding the hand of a small child as they cross their first bridge. Peace does not come from knowing every answer, but from knowing the one who walks beside you. There have been days when you blamed yourself for things that could not be changed. You returned to the past, gathered every fragment of memory, and allowed them to cut into your heart once again. But the past is not a chain meant to hold you forever. It is only one chapter in the book, not the entire story. If a writer keeps reading the same page again and again, how can the book ever move toward its beautiful ending? Let what is past become a lesson, but do not turn it into a sentence against yourself. Some scars no longer hurt, yet they remind you that I carried you through what once seemed impossible to overcome. Every scar is a testimony that you are still here, still able to love, and still able to hope. Remember the story of Elijah, when he was exhausted beneath the broom tree and wished only to die. He had once been a courageous prophet, yet there were times when his heart became heavy with loneliness and disappointment. I did not rebuke him for that weakness. First, I allowed him to rest. I sent an angel to bring him bread and water. Only after his body had been strengthened did his spirit have enough strength to continue the journey. Do you see? I do not care only about your prayers. I also care about the sleep you have been missing, the tears you have tried to swallow, and the exhaustion you always hide behind a smile. Sometimes, what you need most is not to blame yourself for failing to be stronger, but to allow yourself to rest in love and care. Then there will come a time when you realize that the most beautiful things in life are not the things you seize by your own strength, but the things that are given when you learn to open your hands. Love does not grow through possession. Peace does not grow through control. Joy does not grow because you have more than others. They grow when you learn to give. A candle does not lose its light by lighting another candle. A heart does not become poorer by loving one more person. On the contrary, the more you give, the more you discover that the wellspring of love I have placed within you never seems to run dry. Perhaps today you are worried about tomorrow. You fear things that have not yet come. You imagine storms that have not even formed. But my beloved child, how many times in your life have you feared things that never happened in the end? And how many good things have come in ways you never expected? Do not let the fear of tomorrow steal the grace of today. Every morning is a new gift. Every breath is a new opportunity. When the sun rises, mercy is renewed again. As it is written in Lamentations, the mercies of the Lord are new every morning. Therefore, instead of carrying the burden of the entire future upon your shoulders, live this day fully with gratitude. I also want you to learn to see others with eyes full of compassion. You do not know what they have had to fight before meeting you. The person who is irritable may have just lost someone they loved. The person who seems cold may have been betrayed many times. The person who remains silent may be carrying a pain that language cannot express. When you choose gentleness instead of judgment, you are planting into this world what you yourself also long to receive. Let your words become a place where others find hope. Let your presence make someone feel that life is still worth living. Do not be afraid to walk more slowly than others. Ancient forests do not grow after only one rainy season. Deep rivers are not formed in a single night. What endures always needs time. I do not measure your life by speed, but by faithfulness. Some walk quickly but lose their way early. Others walk slowly but still arrive because they never give up. If today you only have the strength to take one more step, that one step is precious. If today you only have the strength to whisper a short prayer, I still hear it with complete love. Some gifts I send are wrapped in joy, but others are wrapped in the paper of trials. Only when you open them will you understand why I allowed you to pass through dry seasons. A seed cannot sprout unless its shell is willing to break. Gold cannot be refined unless it passes through fire. What I am doing within you is often more important than what I am doing for you. I am not only preparing circumstances to suit you, I am also shaping your heart so that you will be ready to receive better things. When you feel forgotten in the crowd, remember that your worth has never been determined by the number of people who know your name. A flower still gives off its fragrance even when no one stops to admire it. A star still shines even when no one looks up. So it is with you. What makes you beautiful does not lie in the recognition of the world, but in the fact that you were created with dignity and love. Do not let criticism make you forget the encouragement that has been planted in your soul. Do not let a strong wind make you doubt the roots that have been planted deep within you. If one day you look back on your life and ask where I was during your most difficult years, I hope you will look more closely. There were doors that unexpectedly opened at the moment you thought you had nowhere left to go. There were people who appeared to support you when you had no strength remaining. There were times when you escaped danger and only much later understood why. These signs are not always loud. They often come quietly, like morning dew covering the fields before dawn begins to break. True love does not always display its strength through thunder, but through a faithful presence that has never gone away. So when you leave these words and return to the rhythm of everyday life, I hope you will carry a heart that is lighter than it was when you began. Walk with gratitude for what you have. Be patient with what you do not yet have. Be kind to the people you meet. Be gentle with yourself. And when night falls, if there are still things you do not understand, place them into prayer. Then allow your soul to rest in hope. For even when you cannot yet see the end of the journey, you can still trust that every step guided by love is never meaningless. This is the hope that no darkness can extinguish. The quiet yet enduring flame that continually reminds you that amid all the changes of life, love will always have the final word. And then one day, when you no longer rush to chase after the calls of the world, you will realize that what I have always desired is not for you to accomplish countless great things, but for you to learn how to remain in my peace. So many times, you have thought that you must strive without ceasing in order to deserve love. You force yourself to become stronger, more successful, more perfect. But my love has never been built upon such things. My love is not a reward for those who win. It is the breath that sustains weary souls. I do not love you more on the day you succeed, nor do I love you less on the day you fail. That love does not rise and fall with your feelings or with the judgment of the world. It is steadfast, like the morning that returns after every long night, like the ocean that embraces every wave, no matter how fierce the waves may be. There are times when you lower your head in shame over the things you have done. You think that if people knew every hidden corner of your heart, they would no longer look at you in the same way. Even you find it difficult to forgive yourself. But my beloved child, I knew all these things before you ever spoke them aloud. I know every thought you keep hidden. I know the battles that no one but you has had to face. I even know the times when you smiled to hide a soul that was breaking apart. And still, I call you my beloved child, not because I do not see your imperfections, but because I see beyond them. I see the beautiful image I placed within you from the beginning, an image that no mistake can ever completely erase. Remember the father in the parable of the prodigal son. When his child returned, he did not stand at the door to question every mistake. He did not demand that his son prove his repentance through hundreds of good deeds. He ran to him first. He embraced him first. He clothed him in new garments first. Love always comes before worthiness. This is how I wait for you each day. No matter how far you have gone, no matter how deeply you have lost your way, the moment you turn back, I am already there, not with eyes of condemnation, but with arms forever open. You often fear beginning again because you think you have lost too much time. But with me, no life is ever too late to bloom. Some seeds remain beneath the soil for many years before they begin to sprout when the right season arrives. No one sees that quiet period. Yet it is in the darkness that life is being prepared. If today you feel that you still cannot see the results, do not conclude that I am silent. Perhaps I am nurturing things that you cannot yet see with your eyes. In Ecclesiastes, it is written that there is a time for everything. This speaks not only of the seasons in nature, but also of the seasons of the soul. There is a season for planting. There is a season for waiting. There is a season for pruning. There is a season for harvest. You cannot force spring to arrive early simply because you have grown weary of winter, but you can trust that winter will not last forever. This is the order I have placed within creation. And it is also what I have placed within the journey of every human life. I hope you will learn to see small things with grateful eyes. A quiet sunrise, a cool breeze, a simple meal, someone who still remembers you, a child's sincere laughter, a flower blooming by the roadside. The world is always urging you to seek extraordinary things. Yet often it is in these ordinary moments that I send you my deepest messages. Not every miracle parts the sea or makes mountains tremble. Some miracles take the form of a peaceful day after a long season of storms, a heart that learns to forgive after years of hurt, or a smile that returns after so many tears. If there is one thing I want you to hold on to as you continue your journey, it is gentleness. Do not allow your wounds to turn you into someone who wounds others. Do not allow the coldness of the world to make your own heart grow cold. Let compassion become your mark. The strongest person is not the one who can defeat everyone, but the one who can still remain gentle when they have every reason to become bitter. Your small light may become a shelter for a lost soul you never even knew was searching. Perhaps you will never fully understand why I lead you along each road. Some questions will only be answered when you look back from far away. But you do not need to know everything in order to keep walking. The only thing you need to know is that I am walking with you. When you are joyful, I listen to your laughter. When you are sad, I remain beside your tears. When you are weary, I become your place of rest. And when you no longer have enough words to pray, I still understand every sigh within your heart. Therefore, do not be quick to worry if today everything is still not as you hoped it would be. Do not assume that an unopened door means that I have forgotten you. Some doors should open only when you have grown enough to walk through them. Some gifts become true blessings only when you have learned the humility needed to care for them. I am not delayed. I am simply always on time. And when that day comes, you will look back on the path where you were once impatient, where you once wept in silence, where you once asked, why? Then you will smile as you realize that every step was guided by a love far beyond your understanding. So let your heart rest in hope. Do not lose the gentleness of your soul in a world that is always rushing. Continue to love. Continue to pray. Continue to sow seeds of kindness, even when you have not yet seen the harvest. I am still at work in the unseen things. I am still making a way where you thought every path had come to an end. And above all, I am still holding you in the palm of everlasting love, a love that is never shaken by time, circumstances, or human limitation. As long as you continue to turn toward me, you will never walk in darkness, for my light will always be enough for the next step. And then one more step, until the day you realize that throughout your entire life, the greatest miracle was not only the miracles I performed, but the fact that I never left you, not even for a single moment. And when you understand that I have gone before you, you will no longer see the future as an unfamiliar land filled with threats. You will see it as a path covered by the shadow of grace, though at times it may still be hidden behind the mist. I do not promise that every step will be easy, but I promise that every step will have meaning when you walk with me. There will be days when your heart feels as light as the wings of a bird in the morning, but there will also be days when it feels as heavy as stones beneath a river. Yet even stones beneath the river are shaped by the flowing water day after day until they become smooth and rounded. Your soul is the same. Through every trial, every choked prayer, every time you endure patiently without losing your kindness, I am making you gentler, clearer, and deeper. My beloved, do not fear the quiet spaces in your life. It is in stillness that a seed hears the call of spring. It is in stillness that the sea gathers strength before lifting great waves. It is in stillness that your soul learns to distinguish the noise of the world from my whisper. Many times, you ask me to answer quickly, clearly, and powerfully. Yet I place before you a small and gentle peace. You may think that is not yet an answer, but that peace itself is the sign that I am near. When the disciples' boat was tossed upon the lake, they thought they were about to be swallowed by the storm. But my son rose and said, "Be still, be silent," and the wind and waves grew calm. Today, I am speaking in the same way to the storms within your heart, not so that you will never encounter the wind, but so that you may know that no wind is greater than the one who is in the boat with you. There are things you have lost that make you believe your heart will never be whole again, a trust that was betrayed, a love that was not returned, a dream that once burned brightly and then faded away in silence. You have placed these things in a hidden corner, like someone storing away broken pieces because they do not know what to do with them. But I am not only the one who created light out of nothing, I can also create beauty from broken pieces. Look at the stained glass windows in a cathedral. They are not beautiful because they remain one unbroken piece. They are beautiful because many different fragments are brought together beneath the light. Your life can become such a window as well. What was once broken in your hands, when placed in mine, can become a place through which light passes. So do not be ashamed of your scars. A scar is not proof that you have been destroyed. It is evidence that you have been healed, even after his resurrection. My son still bore the marks of the nails in his hands. Those marks did not diminish his glory. They became testimony to a love that passed through pain without surrendering to darkness. If there are still wounds within you, let me touch them with tenderness. Do not hide them as though they make you less worthy. No, my beloved, in the very places where you have suffered, you will learn how to comfort others. In the places where you once cried, you will learn how to cherish the tears of another soul. In the places where you once thought you could not continue, you will become a witness that grace is still sufficient for those who are exhausted. Then you will come to understand that growing in faith does not mean having no more questions. It means continuing to walk, even when you do not yet have all the answers. Abraham left his homeland without knowing where he was going. Moses stood before the Red Sea with enemies behind him and deep waters before him. Mary said, "Let it be done," before a mystery beyond human understanding. None of them saw the entire road from the beginning, but they saw enough to trust that the one who called them was faithful. You are the same. I do not ask you to understand everything today. I only invite you to trust a little more. Take one more breath, walk one more step, and place your trembling hand into my hand that never lets go. In seasons of waiting, care for your heart as a gardener cares for the soil before the rains come. Do not let the cruel words of others become weeds that cover your soul. Do not let doubt consume the joy I have planted within you. Water your heart with prayer, gratitude, and acts of goodness, however small they may be. Every morning, when the light touches your window, tell yourself that today is still a gift, not because everything is perfect, but because I am still present. Not because you are already strong enough, but because my strength can sustain you, not because you know what tomorrow holds, but because tomorrow is already held in my hands. There will be times when you meet people who do not understand your journey. They will be quick to judge your seasons of silence. They will look at delay and call it failure. They will look at tears and call them weakness, but do not let their voices drown out mine. An olive tree needs many years to grow deep roots and bear fruit. A pearl is formed in silence from a tiny wound within a shell. Precious things are rarely born in haste. If I am doing something deep within you, do not be surprised when the world cannot yet see it. Some works of grace must remain hidden until the right season of blooming arrives. Therefore, learn to slow down and trust. When you eat a simple meal, know that it too is a blessing. When you have a home to return to, someone who asks how you are, a breath that allows you to keep going, do not take these quiet miracles for granted. The world often makes you chase after things that are grand, distant, and dazzling, but heaven is often hidden in what is close. A cool glass of water given to the thirsty, an apology spoken at the right time, a sincere word of thanks, a moment when you pause, look toward the sky, and remember that you have not been forgotten. These small things can become silent altars, places where your heart meets me in the ordinary moments of life. If tonight you are still worried, lay each burden before me as someone lays heavy stones beside the road. You were not created to carry everything alone. You do not need to pretend to be strong before me. Your tears do not offend me. Your trembling does not keep me at a distance. When you are weak, draw nearer to me, for it is in that weakness that you will feel a mercy that asks you to wear no mask. Let me love you in the parts of yourself you believe are hardest to love. Let me enter the rooms within your soul that you have kept locked for far too long. I do not come to reproach you. Then one day, when you turn around and look back upon the road you have traveled, you will be astonished to see how many things I quietly accomplished in your life without you ever realizing it. You will remember the doors that closed and made you cry, only to understand years later that behind those doors were merely paths leading to sorrow. You will remember prayers that seemed never to be answered, yet the waiting itself made your heart grow wiser. teaching you to distinguish between what you wanted and what you truly needed. Some gifts, if I gave them too early, would become burdens. Some beautiful things, if they arrived before their time, would cause you to lose yourself. Therefore, my patience has never been silence. It is love quietly arranging all things in a more perfect way than your eyes are able to see. Perhaps what exhausts you most is not the trials themselves, but the feeling that you must carry them alone. You still smile before others, still complete your work, still say that you are fine. But only when night falls do you realize how weary your heart truly is. My beloved, I have never asked you to be strong by your own strength. From the beginning, I created you to know how to lean upon love, not to fight alone. A vine branch cannot sustain itself when separated from the vine. A stream cannot continue to flow when its source has dried up. Your soul is the same. Each time you return in prayer, in stillness, in gratitude, you are not only seeking me, you are returning to the source of life that has been keeping you since the very beginning. Do not let your wounds cause your heart to close itself. I know that you once gave sincerity and received betrayal in return. I know that you placed your trust in others and were disappointed. I also know that some words seemed to pass quickly, yet remained within your heart for many years. Still, do not let those who hurt you decide how you see the entire world. If a storm passes through a forest, the forest still continues to sprout. If winter lasts long, spring still finds its way back. Evil may leave its marks, but it does not have the right to define your future. Let mercy become greater than bitterness. Let forgiveness free your heart from the invisible chains that resentment has quietly formed. Do you know what brings me the greatest joy? It is not when you accomplish great things that make everyone praise you. What makes me smile is when you quietly choose what is good, even when no one sees. When you speak gently to someone who is desperate, when you give a portion of your time to listen to someone who is lonely, when you help without expecting anything in return. These things may seem very small in the eyes of the world, but in the kingdom of heaven, every act of love carries eternal value. The smallest mustard seed can one day become a great tree where the birds of the air make their nests. Even the smallest ray of light is enough to keep darkness from being absolute. Never believe that your life has no meaning simply because you have not achieved the things you once dreamed of. There are many people known by the entire world whose hearts are still empty. There are also those who live quietly among others, whose names are never mentioned, yet whose presence has warmed countless souls. Your worth does not lie in fame. Your worth is not measured by the number of people who applaud you. Your worth begins with the truth that you were created by love and for love. No one can take that away from you. Learn to give thanks even on ordinary days. Do not seek me only when you face storms. Seek me also in the birdsong of early morning, in the cool breeze passing through the window, in a simple meal, in the smile of someone you love, in the peaceful breath you receive unconsciously each day. Miracles do not always part the sea or cause fire to fall from heaven. Most miracles appear in very simple forms. A heart that still knows how to love. A family still able to sit together. Another new day given to mend what remains unfinished. Because these things happen every day, you may easily forget that they too are grace. There will be times when you ask why good people still suffer. I do not promise that those who walk in the light will never face rain and wind, but I promise that storms will not be the final chapter of the story. Those who build their house upon the rock still face the storm. The difference is that their house does not fall. What I am building within you is not a life without trials, but a soul strong enough not to lose hope in the midst of trials. The peace I give does not come from every circumstance being favorable. Peace comes from knowing that, no matter how circumstances may change, love is still walking beside you. If today you feel that you are moving very slowly, do not lose heart. Things of value are often formed through silence and time. A grain of rice must remain beneath the soil for a long time before it becomes a harvest. A child needs many months in the mother's womb before the first cry is heard. An ancient tree must pass through countless seasons of sun and rain before it can offer shade to others. Therefore, do not grow impatient with your own process. What I am doing within you may not yet be visible to your eyes, but it will be revealed through kinder decisions, more peaceful thoughts, and words filled with greater love. This is the renewal that begins from within. Remember Ruth. She stepped into the future with nothing but faithfulness and a loving heart, not knowing what lay ahead. Yet it was her faithfulness in small things that opened a journey far beyond anything she could have imagined. Perhaps you too are living in a chapter whose meaning you do not yet understand. But do not stop walking simply because you do not understand. Some answers appear only after you have found the courage to continue. And if there are times when you forget everything I have told you, then I hope you remember this one thing: never give up hope. When the lamp holds only one tiny ray of light, do not assume that darkness has won. That small light is still enough to show that the flame has not gone out. I am still working in places your eyes cannot see, opening doors that you do not yet know exist, healing wounds that you yourself believed would never be healed. Therefore, wake each morning with a grateful heart. Go to sleep each night with a soul that knows how to surrender. And let each passing day become your answer to my unchanging love. So before you close this moment of stillness and return to the rhythm of ordinary life, take a deep breath and let your heart settle like the surface of a lake after the wind has passed. Forgive what needs to be forgiven. Release the burdens you were never created to carry forever. Believe that the tears you have shed have not been in vain. The prayers you have spoken have not vanished, and the seeds of love you have sown will one day bear fruit. Whatever tomorrow may bring, walk with courage, for love always goes one step ahead of you. Mercy waits for you at the end of every day, and hope will always bloom in the soul that continues to turn toward the light. This is the gift I hope you will hold on to, not only today, but in every season of your life, so that wherever you go, you may become a source of peace, a word of comfort, and a sign of love in a world that is deeply in need of healing. Then, when the soul gradually becomes still after so many waves of thought, one begins to realize that the most precious thing is not having every answer, but learning how to remain at peace, even while some questions cannot yet be answered. Faith has never been a path that removes every mystery. Faith is a light gentle enough to help a person continue walking through what they do not yet understand. It is in such stillness that the heart begins to hear what the rush of life has hidden for too long. The wind moving through the branches, a ray of sunlight slipping through a window, the laughter of a child, or the hand of a loved one held tightly in a moment of weakness. All of these can become reminders that grace is still present in the things that seem most ordinary. There is a beautiful paradox in the spiritual life. The more people try to hold tightly to everything, the more easily they lose their peace. But when they learn to open their hands and entrust what is beyond their strength to God, their hearts become lighter. This does not mean abandoning responsibility, nor does it mean surrendering helplessly to fate. It is the humility of a soul that understands it is not the center of the universe and does not need to carry every burden of the world. It is when people accept their limitations that they create space for love and grace to enter. The pages of Scripture often tell of people who seemed very small, yet it was through them that the power of God was quietly revealed. A boy with only a few loaves of bread and 2 fish, a widow with only a little flour and oil, a shepherd overlooked among his brothers. None of them possessed anything great according to the standards of the world. All they had was a heart willing to offer what they had. And often, that is the only thing God needs from a person, not perfection. but a heart that knows how to open itself. There are seasons in life when everything seems to bloom. Work goes well. The family is at peace. Health is abundant. And prayers seem to be answered quickly. But there will also be other seasons. When branches stand bare in winter, when things that were once familiar suddenly feel distant, when silence lingers so long that people begin to wonder whether they are still walking the right path. These seasons often become the deepest places where faith takes root. For if one believes only when everything goes well, that faith is still dependent on circumstances. But when a soul can still hold on to hope in the darkness, the light within that soul is no longer determined by the world. In the Psalms, there are countless cries, countless tears, and many honest questions. They remind us that faith does not require people to hide their emotions. God is not afraid of sincere questions. What He desires is not a face that always wears a false smile, but a heart courageous enough to come before Him exactly as it truly is. Some of the most beautiful prayers are not made of eloquent words, but are simply the sighs of a soul that is deeply tired and yet continues searching for the light. How strange it is that people often spend so much time blaming themselves for what has passed, yet so little time giving thanks for what they still have. People easily remember one insult more than 10 words of love. They are quick to count their failures more than the times they have been lifted up. Yet gratitude is like a door. When that door opens, light enters with it, not because circumstances immediately change, but because a person's way of seeing begins to change. Life does not always bring grand miracles. Most of the time, the wondrous things come in very ordinary forms. A mother patiently waiting for her child to return. A father quietly working for years, simply so that his family may have enough. A friend who remains when everyone else has left. A stranger who smiles on the very day one's heart feels heavy. These things are rarely written into history books, yet they write the history of kindness. People often fear delay, but nature teaches an entirely different lesson. No forest grows in a single night. No river becomes majestic after only one rainfall. No fruit ripens simply because the one who planted the tree becomes impatient. Everything that endures requires time. The soul is the same. Maturity rarely comes through great leaps. More often, it is formed through countless small decisions, repeated each day with faithfulness. Perhaps one of the most beautiful gifts faith brings is the ability to see meaning even in what is still unfinished. A crack in a vessel can become the place through which light passes. A sorrowful memory can become a source of compassion for others. A stumble can teach the humility that success has never been able to give. When seen through the eyes of hope, people begin to understand that not every loss is meaningless, and not every tear is shed in vain. There is something the modern world so easily forgets: silence. 2 is a language. Amid countless notifications, sounds, and endless races, the soul needs quiet spaces in which it can be healed. It is in that stillness that people begin to recognize what is truly necessary and what is merely consuming their time and strength. Silence is not emptiness. It is fertile ground where gratitude, wisdom, and love can take root. And after all that is past, what remains is not the number of times a person has won, nor the number of times they have been praised. What remains is the way they loved, the way they forgave, the way they rose again after each fall, and the way they kept the flame of hope burning even on days when darkness seemed to be all that was left. Perhaps this is the deepest beauty of the journey of faith. It does not turn people into those who never suffer, but into those who still know how to love amid suffering, still know how to hope amid uncertainty, and still know how to look toward the light even when dawn is still far away. If these reflections come to an end here, it is not the end of the journey. but simply a pause for the heart to continue carrying the seeds that have been planted. Each new day will open fresh opportunities to live a little more kindly, to be a little more grateful, to be a little more patient, and to love a little more deeply. It is through such seemingly small things that a life is gradually transformed. And perhaps the most beautiful thing a person can leave behind in this world is not grand achievements or words of praise, but the traces of kindness left in the hearts of those who have encountered them. Then the light has been passed on, hope has continued, and love has quietly grown, like a small seed that one day becomes a great tree beneath whose shade many find refuge. And as you continue walking after these moments of quiet reflection, I hope you will not merely remember the words you have heard, but allow them to become a new rhythm within your heart. Some seeds remain on the surface of the soil because the one who planted them never watered them with perseverance. Some words of love only brush past the mind because you have not allowed them to sink deeply into your soul. Do not rush back into the noise of the world as though this moment had never existed. Hold on to the silence a little longer, for in that silence, I am still at work. There are things I do not write across the sky with clouds, nor carve into stone with fire. I write them in the most hidden place of the human heart, where no wind can carry them away, and no passing of time can make them fade. You often think that only the strong are chosen to bring light into the world. But do you know that many lamps trembled before they began to shine? Many souls I have used to comfort others have once wept more than anyone else. Those who have been healed understand how to bind a wound. Those who have walked through the night understand the preciousness of seeing the dawn. Therefore, do not be ashamed of the cracks in your life. If you allow love to pass through those cracks, they will no longer be signs of brokenness. They will become places from which light shines out, so that others who are lost may find their way home. Perhaps you have lived for too long with the feeling that you must prove your worth. You strive harder, work harder, sacrifice more, hoping that one day you will finally feel that you are enough. But my beloved child, some things cannot be achieved through effort, because they have always been gifts freely given. True love is not a reward for those who are perfect. Mercy is not a medal for those who never make mistakes. Before you accomplished anything, before you could speak beautiful words or do great things, you were already loved. That love is not the result of your merit, it is the beginning of everything. Remember Peter. There was a time when he boldly stepped out of the boat and walked upon the water. Yet that same man, on another night, denied his master 3 times out of fear. His life was not made only of glorious moments, it also held moments of weakness. But what defined him was not that fall, but the fact that he rose again, allowed his heart to be transformed, and continued to love. Do not let one mistake become the only mirror through which you see yourself. Let hope have a voice as well. Let repentance and transformation also be written into the story of your life. There are days when you feel that every door has been closed. You knock for a long time, yet no one opens. You wait for a long time, yet no answer comes. But one day you will understand that not every closed door is a rejection. Some doors are closed to keep you from entering places that would wound you. Some paths are blocked because ahead lies an abyss you cannot yet see. Do not grieve too deeply over what you have lost when you do not yet know what you have been protected from. Faith is not knowing everything that will happen beforehand. It is daring to keep walking with the certainty that love is still leading the way. Learn to look at life with eyes that know how to wonder. Every morning you wake is an invitation to begin again. No one can change yesterday, but today always opens like a blank page. Do not allow old failures to keep writing the story of a new day. Let gratitude take up the pen. Let forgiveness begin the first sentence. Let hope write the next paragraph. Life is beautiful, not because its pages have never been stained with ink, but because the writer continues to write with a heart that refuses to surrender. I also want you to learn to be gentle with yourself. At times, You treat yourself more harshly than anyone else ever could. You forgive others more easily than you forgive yourself. You accept the growth of others, yet do not permit yourself to grow day by day. Remember that a gardener does not blame a flower because it has not blossomed today. He continues to tend it, to water it, and to wait patiently. If you can be patient with a seed, why can you not be patient with your own soul? Ecclesiastes reminds us that there is a time for everything, a time to sow and a time to reap, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to embrace and a time to let go. Much of your suffering comes not because that season is bad, but because you try to force it to become a different season. When you learn to welcome every season of life, you will discover that even winter is preparing for spring. Even bare branches are quietly gathering life for the day they bloom again. Do not forget that around you there are always people who need a ray of hope. Perhaps they do not say it. Perhaps they still smile brightly. But inside, they are longing for someone to notice their weariness. You do not need to have every answer in order to comfort them. Sometimes, the most precious gift is simply your presence. A heart that knows how to listen often heals more deeply than hurried advice. A sincere embrace can sometimes say more than 1,000 words. If one day you feel that you are only a small candle in the vast darkness, please do not forget that darkness has never been able to extinguish light. As long as one flame remains, the night will never have the final word. And the wonder is that light does not diminish when it is shared. One candle can light hundreds of others and still burn as brightly as it did in the beginning. So it is with love. So it is with kindness. So it is with hope. The more they are given, the more widely they spread. Therefore, continue walking with a tender heart. Do not let the world teach you that coldness is strength. True strength is still knowing how to love after having been hurt, still knowing how to trust after having been disappointed, and still knowing how to smile after days filled with tears. It is through these quiet choices that the beauty of the soul is shaped day by day. And one day, when you look back, you will realize that what mattered most was not how quickly you traveled, but that throughout the entire journey, you never lost your ability to love. When a heart still knows how to love, still knows how to hope, and still turns toward what is good, then even in a troubled world, light continues to be born, peace continues to be sown, and your story continues to be written in the most beautiful strokes of grace and hope. And it is precisely when people learn to walk in such peace that they gradually discover that the most precious thing is not a life without tears, but a heart that does not allow tears to become despair. For every dawn carries a new invitation. Light never asks how long the night has lasted. It simply appears quietly and causes the darkness to retreat. Faith is the same. Some days it is only a very small ray of light, but as long as that ray remains, darkness will never have the final word. What makes a soul strong is not that it has never fallen, but that after every fall, it still has enough gentleness to rise without carrying hatred, and enough humility to love without demanding anything in return. There are moments when people wonder why their journey seems longer than that of others. They see those around them attain the things they long for, while they themselves are still laboring along paths filled with stones. But every garden has its own season of blooming. No one blames an olive tree for growing more slowly than a field of rice. No one criticizes a river because it does not move as swiftly as the rain. All creation carries within itself a rhythm, arranged by a wisdom far beyond human sight. When people understand this, their hearts are no longer tormented by comparison, but begin to learn gratitude for their own journey. In the pages of Scripture, people often remember the great miracles, but sometimes forget that much of the lives of its figures was formed in very ordinary years. Jesus lived many years in quietness before beginning his public ministry. That period of silence was not wasted time, it was preparation. It reminds us that the ordinary days of each person also carry deep value. It is through small tasks, familiar responsibilities, and choices repeated every day that character is shaped. Faithfulness is nourished, and love is proved more by actions than by words. People often wait for extraordinary things before believing that their lives have meaning. Yet so often the extraordinary is woven from countless simple things. An apology spoken at the right moment can heal a relationship that seemed broken beyond repair. A sincere word of thanks can warm someone's entire day. An embrace offered to a lonely person can become a memory that sustains them for years. These things do not make headlines around the world, yet they are engraved deeply in the memories of souls that have been touched by kindness. There is something very beautiful in the growth of faith. People gradually stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin to ask, "What good may be born from this circumstance?" That change opens a new door. Instead of seeing hardship as a wall blocking their way, they begin to see it as a quiet teacher. Every difficulty teaches patience. Every loss teaches appreciation. Every season of waiting teaches trust, not because suffering itself is something good, but because love can transform even painful things into material from which compassion and wisdom are formed. How many times have people sought peace in places that could never hold it for long? They think that if they become more successful, wealthier, or more admired, they will finally stop feeling anxious. Yet once they attain these things, they begin to fear losing them. Peace built upon what can change will always be fragile. Only when the heart finds an unchanging foundation will it stop being swept away by every wave of circumstance. That is why the words in John still echo through the centuries. Do not let your hearts be troubled. They are not a denial of a world filled with change, but an invitation to place hope in something more enduring than every storm. It is wonderful that light never needs to argue with darkness. It only needs to be present. A small candle does not need to prove its strength. Once it is lit, the room is already changed. A person who lives with kindness is the same. They do not need to strive to become great in everyone's eyes. They need only remain faithful to what is good each day. And then, at some point, their very life becomes a quiet testimony that love is stronger than hatred. Forgiveness brings more freedom than resentment, and hope endures longer than fear. Perhaps the greatest gift a soul can offer the world is not perfection, but sincere presence. A person who listens more than they judge, supports more than they condemn, and understands more than they criticize, will leave deep footprints in the lives of others. This is a kind of light that is not dazzling, yet it is enough to help those who are lost find their direction. It is a kind of fragrance that cannot be seen by the eyes, yet everyone who comes near can feel it. If one day people feel too small before the upheavals of the world, let them remember that an entire forest begins with tiny seeds. An ocean is made of countless drops of water. A beautiful life is woven from innumerable right choices that may seem insignificant. No one can do every good thing, but everyone can do one good thing exactly where they stand. And these small acts, repeated with love, quietly change the world more than people realize. Therefore, as the final page of this reflection slowly closes, what remains should not be merely words, but a gentle reminder for the heart. Step into each new day with eyes that can see grace in ordinary things. Let your words become a place where others find comfort. Let your presence bring more peace than worry, more hope than disappointment, and more love than fear. For in the end, what remains after everything is not what people possess, but what they have sown into one another's hearts. And the seed of kindness, watered by faith and faithfully guarded by love, will always come into its season of bearing fruit, not only in one person's life, but blooming through countless other lives as well. like light passed from one candle to another, quiet yet never extinguished. There are moments when night falls slowly and all the sounds of the world begin to grow still. When people finally begin to face their own hearts, during the day, they may run very quickly, filling their empty spaces with work, meetings, and goals that endlessly follow one another. But when only silence remains, every mask becomes meaningless. It is in such hours that the soul begins to ask the questions it has long kept hidden. What am I living for? What am I seeking? What will remain when everything that can be lost has slipped from my hands? These questions do not come to frighten you. They come like a gentle bell, awakening a heart that has spent too long moving only to the hurried rhythm of the world. It is strange that people often spend so much time caring for things that will grow old, decay, and disappear with the passing years, yet forget to care for the one part of themselves that can walk with them through every season of life, the soul. A garden that is not watered will become dry and barren. A house that is not cared for will slowly fall into ruin. The heart is no different. It needs to be nourished with gratitude, forgiveness, quiet moments of prayer, truthful words, and hidden acts of goodness. No one can do this for you, just as no one can drink water in your place and make the thirst within you disappear. In the Gospel of Matthew, there is the image of the person who builds a house upon rock and the person who builds a house upon sand. Both must face rain, wind, and rising waters. The difference does not lie in the storm, but in the foundation. Every life will eventually have days when the sky becomes dark. No one can escape loss, separation, illness, or the moments when the heart is broken. But if the foundation of a person is built upon faith, love, and hope, then even when tears fall, they will not lose themselves. Do not be afraid when you see that there are still many things in you that are unfinished. The growth of the soul does not happen through great leaps, but through countless small choices repeated each day. Today, be a little more patient. Tomorrow, be a little more gentle. Another day, listen more, instead of only wanting to be heard. Such seemingly small things quietly transform an entire person. A river does not become mighty because of a single rainfall. It is formed from countless drops of water flowing faithfully through the years. Perhaps what the world lacks is not more talented people, but hearts willing to bend low. To bend low in order to lift someone who is in despair. To bend low in order to apologize when one is wrong. To bend low in order to forgive when another person has caused pain. Humility does not make a person smaller. On the contrary, it creates room for love to grow. The fuller the grain of rice, the lower it bows. The more a soul is filled with mercy, the less it needs to prove its greatness. Remember the Good Samaritan in the parable. He did not ask what nation the wounded man belonged to, whether he deserved help, or whether helping him would bring any benefit to himself. He simply saw a person in need of love. This is the beauty to which faith always invites us, seeing the dignity in every person before seeing the differences between us. A healed world does not begin with extraordinary things. It begins when one heart chooses not to walk past another person's pain. There will also be days when you feel that you have nothing left to give. Your soul is weary. Your shoulders are heavy. And one disappointment after another makes every source of joy seem to run dry. Yet in those moments, remember that you are not called to create the light by yourself. You are called to open the window of your heart so that the light may enter. No one creates the dawn on their own. One simply needs to draw back the curtain when the sun appears. Grace is the same. It is always present, waiting only for a heart humble enough to receive it. Do not allow the unloving words of others to become the loudest voice within you. Some remarks exist only for a few seconds on the lips of the speaker. yet remain for years in the memory of the one who hears them. Therefore, learn to let truth become greater than condemnation. A mirror covered in dust does not make a face any less beautiful. It simply needs to be wiped clean so that it can reflect the image that was always there. At times, the soul also needs to be cleansed of shame, fear, and the lies that have clung to it for far too long. Every season of life carries its own lesson. There are seasons that teach you how to rejoice. There are seasons that teach you how to wait. There are seasons that teach you how to let go. And there are seasons that teach you that the most precious thing is not always holding on tightly, but knowing when to give freely. The leaves do not regret leaving the branches in autumn, because they know that spring will come again in its own way. Your soul, too, will find peace when it understands that not every ending is a loss. Some endings are simply doors leading into a more beautiful chapter. If one day you feel too small in this vast world, look up at the sky on a night full of stars. Every star appears small when seen from the earth, yet each one still helps brighten the whole sky. None of them needs to strive to become the sun. They simply remain faithful to the light they have been given. Your life is the same. You do not need to become someone else for your life to have meaning. By living fully through the love, faithfulness, and kindness that have been planted in your heart, you already make this world a little brighter. And when, one day, the final pages of this journey are opened, what remains will not be the things you accumulated, but the things you gave, not the titles you once held, but the hearts that were lifted because of your presence, not the times you were praised, but the times you chose to love even when love required sacrifice. Perhaps that is the deepest beauty of a human life, to let each passing day become a response to grace through kindness, to let every step sow another seed of peace, and to be able, when looking back, to smile in the knowledge that amid all the changes of life, your heart never ceased to turn toward the light, where love remains stronger than every darkness and hope continues to bloom after even the longest winters. Even so, the journey of a soul is never measured by the distance it has traveled, but by the way that heart learns to love more deeply after every part of the road. Some people pass through the years with very swift feet, yet their souls remain still in old wounds. Others may seem to move forward only in small steps, yet each step opens their hearts wider, teaches them greater compassion, and helps them see the world with gentler eyes. It is this quiet transformation that is most precious. For what is built in the depths endures longer than what merely shines upon the surface. People often think that light appears only when darkness has completely disappeared. Yet nature tells a different story. Dawn does not wait for the night to vanish entirely before it arrives. Light and darkness meet at the horizon, and it is in that moment of harmony that the sky becomes most beautiful. Life is the same. Hope does not wait until every sorrow has ended before entering the human heart. It often arrives in the midst of tearful days, as a reminder that suffering does not have the final word. What makes a person strong is not that they have never cried, but that after every time they cry, they still have enough gentleness left to love. There are things that can only be seen by a heart that knows how to listen. A word of encouragement offered at the right moment can become a bridge that carries someone across despair. A quiet presence can heal what thousands of words may never be able to reach. A very small act of kindness can remain with someone for an entire lifetime, even when the person who gave it never realizes it. That is the beauty of goodness. It makes no great noise, yet its influence spreads steadily like the fragrance of a garden after the rain. In the Gospel of Luke, there is the parable of a father who runs out to welcome his returning son. That story is not only about forgiveness, it is also about a hope that never closes its doors. The father does not remain inside the house waiting for an explanation. He runs to his son before hearing a single word of justification. That image has become a symbol of mercy that always comes before human worthiness. So when someone feels they have wandered too far to return to what is good and holy, this story quietly reminds them that the door of hope has never been locked. Take time to give thanks, even for the things you once considered ordinary. A home to return to, someone who still remembers your name, a simple meal, another morning in which you are able to wake up, an opportunity to say sorry while there is still time, one more day to love more deeply than yesterday. These things are not always dazzling, yet they quietly weave together the fabric of a happy life. Happiness rarely comes like a great wave. More often, it comes like spring rain, gentle and steady, refreshing the things that once seemed so ordinary. Perhaps there will come a time when every person understands that the most precious thing they can leave behind is neither wealth nor fame. What remains is the way they made others feel loved, respected, and supported. A word of encouragement can outlive the person who spoke it. A kind act can continue bearing fruit through many generations. Sincere love always has the power to transcend the limits of time, because it is remembered not only through memory, but through the transformation it brings to the hearts of those it has touched. And as these reflections come to an end, the true journey still lies ahead. Every new day opens like a blank page, waiting to be written through compassionate choices, faithfulness in small things, patience before the things that cannot yet be changed, and a hope that refuses to be extinguished by any winter of life. As long as people still know how to bend down and help others rise, still know how to forgive instead of feeding hatred, still know how to give thanks amid simple blessings, and still believe that love can heal the deepest wounds, then the light will continue to pass from one heart to another. It is a light that does not dazzle, yet is enough to guide the way, not loud, yet strong enough to transform a life. And it is the most beautiful gift a soul can carry throughout its pilgrimage in this world. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that together we can build a strong community of faith.